My name is Seth Muli, and I have the privilege and honor of being the Executive Director of the Youth Bridge Trust, but also the co-lead of the African Youth Economic Forum. We're really excited about this continental-wide platform, but just to give you a little bit more information about our aims and goals of this platform is to essentially be a proactive contributor towards the achievement of Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The AYEF is all about information sharing, peer learning, and co-developing solutions. Importantly, the hosting of the summit is part and parcel of the commemorative events making the 15th anniversary of the coming into force of the African Youth Charter. And we're going to be breaking down a lot of these elements for you today. For those of you who don't know what the African Youth Charter is, the Continental African Free Trade Agreement, AfTA. If you don't know what that's about, you've tuned in to the right program today, the African Youth Economic Forum. Now, a key outcome of the forum is to mobilize African youth, including its diaspora, to understand the intricacies of Agenda 2063, the Sustainable Development Goals, the African Free Trade Agreement, and the African Youth Charter. The forum will also assist in finding national level accelerating factors to the trade agreements, operationalize them. Ooh, the English today is I think I've lost the data bundles for English, particularly for youth. Additionally, the African Youth Economic Forum aims to provide a platform for African youth to engage with one another, share lived experience, learn best practices in various economic thematic areas, and produce youth-friendly knowledge products. Do let us know where you're watching from. The agenda is very simple. We want you to engage with peers, collaborate, but also connect with them. So don't be afraid to share your contact details in the chat session, your name, your surname, as well as where you're watching from today. So do that in the comment section, your name, surname, the organization, maybe even just put your Twitter handle so people can follow you and then just engage with you further. Thank you for joining us on day 2 of the African Youth Economic Forum. And I just want to give a vote of thanks to all of our partners, the African Peer Review Mechanism, Youth Bridge Trust, as well as the African Union, as well as Tycoon Tribe, who is our media partner today. I'm going to throw forward to Lennon Monyae, who is from the APRM Secretariat. He's responsible for youth activities, and he's just going to give us a wrap up of what happened in day 1 of the African Youth Economic Forum. Yesterday, we celebrated the 18th anniversary of the APRM. It was APRM Day. It was a spectacular event, and he's just going to round it up for us, but also just share about what happened in day 1 of the African Youth Economic Forum. If you are here and you think someone needs to join, send them the link. It's very simple. Just send them the link to this. We're on Twitter with the hashtag AYEF Forum. So tweet, tag us in the posts, and let's get the conversation going. I see a lot of people just dropping in their comments. I've got Jerusalem here from Tanzania, Kadaji from Tanzania. Thank you so much. Dafa from Namibia, really appreciate that you're joining us and being part of the conversation. So let's keep the conversation going. This platform is for young people by young people. So we're encouraging you to share your comments. There'll also be an opportunity for question and answers, so be sure to look out for that. We're going to start today's agenda with a keynote address. I'll introduce him a little bit later, but he is a phenomenal young man who's doing amazing things on the African continent. And you can expect brilliant minds, brilliant young minds are sharing their opinions on the issues that matter to us as young people. So again, welcome to the African Youth Economic Forum. I'm going to throw forward now to Lennon Monyae.
Good morning from Johannesburg, South Africa, colleagues. Welcome to the African Youth Economic Forum. Today, I'm just going to start by giving you a recap of what happened yesterday. But before I start, colleagues, we know we have a big loss on the continent. So we are in solidarity and we are thinking of our brothers and sisters in Kenya. In Tanzania. I know we have got participants from Tanzania that have joined us irrespective of the loss, but we're thinking of our colleagues there. We've lost a big giant. So before we start, can we just have a minute of silence just to remember President Magufuli, who has unfortunately departed. Just a moment of silence, please. Thank you, colleagues. Today's agenda really is not like coming in without thinking of what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we touched on the CFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, with Mr. Emmanuel from Ghana, who took us through the A and B Cs of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. We also had a panel with Mr. Nolo, who really broke down what entrepreneurs should be doing to participate in the Continental Free Trade Agreement. We also had the free movement of protocol of people, where we discussed how Africans should start moving around freely as well as goods. And here, what came out strongly is the issue of women in Africa being the best practice of moving of goods throughout the continent. However, young people were asked to be the advocates now of the free movement of protocol, which at the moment has not had enough signatories. Myself, I come from the APRM, which is an organ that's promoting the ratification of all these instruments, as well as promoting good governance. But before we jump into today, a brother of mine who's also based in Ghana, Mr. Kwame, is going to come in and just give us a perspective on SDGs, what Reset Global People does. Mr. Kwame is an award-winning futurist, a global business, a keynote speaker in a lot of global events. He was awarded the 2017 Africa Youth of the Year at the African Youth Awards and named top 100 global leaders of tomorrow at the St. Glenn Symposium. He's also recently ranked as one of the top 100 speakers in Ghana. As an entrepreneur, he's also the CEO of Reset Global and a leading communications specialist. He runs a lot of events and has done a lot in terms of making sure that this event comes together. So I'm calling upon Mr. Kwame to come online and just give us a brief outline of how Reset Global has contributed to this event and sort of set the framework of today and some of the panels that we're having today. Mr. Kwame, you have the floor. Please take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and greetings from Accra, Ghana. My name is Kwame Opoku. I lead the Reset Global People. We've been doing work with young people across the continent, maybe 10, 12 countries strong in the last decade. And in that space of time, as we've done the work, one of the things that has stood out to me is we have an incredible amount of young people across the continent who have an outstanding number of innovative ideas and solutions for the continent. However, one of the greatest challenges is, number one, access to each other, which is peer-to-peer connections and being able to foster a far more, indigenous and strong innovation system for our continent, access to markets, being able to build with a certain level of social impact at the back of our minds and not doing business as usual. We can already see the ramifications of when we do business as usual and the impact it has on our environment and our people and everything else that matters. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, I turned the entire vision of our organization to one that was fully focused on social impact, capacity building, and empowering young people to become active agents of change as far as the sustainable development goals was concerned. Because what we realized is, regardless and irrespective of the amount of philanthropic work we did, regardless and irrespective of the amount of charity work we did, and regardless and irrespective of the amount of social impact work we did, every single one of them was somehow etched within the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. And since then, we've gone out to launch the Global SDGs Youth Summit, which is one of the biggest on the continent. The last one that we did was in November 2019. After that, we were supposed to be Nigeria and South Africa, and then COVID hit, and we had to pause and bring everything online. It was for 3 days. There were 32 countries that were represented, about 16 ambassadors of countries, including the Vice President of Liberia. We launched the period poverty initiative, to help young women across the continent who cannot afford sanitary kits to be able to access that. We've launched Life as a Clean Beach, where we're encouraging people to go out there and clean their environments and make sure that we are practicalizing the SDGs. And it was the same spirit and the same energy that brought myself, Mr. Lennon, and Mr. Seth together when we started our conversations about a year ago, and led us to the establishment of the African Youth Economic Forum. Just to say that as much as we empower people and we do a lot of social impact work, there's also the need for us to be able to establish economic parameters that allows us to be able to balance the scale. And that's what birthed the African Youth Economic Forum. So I'm super, super honored, super humbled. Congratulations to Mr. Seth, Mr. Lennon. This is day 2. This is the final day. It's been a lot of work in the background. And just to see it come to fruition like this, see the amount of absolutely amazing people we've had as speakers, and all the people who have joined from all across the 30 plus countries that we've seen yesterday and even today, just to say welcome, Akwaba, in my language in Ghana, and enjoy the rest of the sections. Today, we're going to dive deeper. We're going to touch on the future of work. We're going to look at how the AFCTA translates into everyday dividends for the everyday young person to understand their role in it and how they can benefit from it. So it's going to be value packed. It's going to be back to back. You don't want to miss anything that goes on here. But all the way at the end, the most important thing for us are next steps and the outcomes from this event, so that it becomes truly, truly value adding, not only when we're having the event, but also when we're not actively having the event, making sure impact is happening on the ground across all our member states, across all our partnerships in the various countries. Enjoy the rest of the session, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Kwame, for that. Much appreciated. And apologies for those technical difficulties, but panelists, you can now share your videos once you are speaking, so feel free to do that. Thank you. Kwame, not Gerald. Gerald is coming next. Thank you, Kwame, for setting the scene, but also telling us more about your organization and what you're up to. It's a pleasure to have you here. And as Kwame mentioned, this is a platform for young people, by young people. And I can already see a lot of questions coming through. Very exciting. Keep them coming through. Also, just drop in your organization's email address, just a brief background about what you're doing. Let's not make it too long, very short and simple, and your Twitter and Instagram handle, so people can follow you and engage with you further. Right, coming up now, we're going to have a keynote address from a gentleman that I admire, a gentleman who's doing a great work on the continent of Africa. His name is Gerald Chirinda. He is the founder and CEO of Future Africa Forum, a company that focuses on building sustainable enterprises and unlocking real value on the African continent. Gerald is also the founder of Educate, which is an education access and improvement company. Educate partners with schools at home and abroad, and its core goal of providing financial access through the issuing of loans within the education system. He's also the male champion for women's economic empowerment, boosting youth employment in sub-Saharan Africa, and a trailblazer in engaging leaders and governments to advance Africa's prosperity through an organization he founded called Future Africa Forum. In addition, he's a well-published thought leader and contributor through mixed media channels, and he participates in global events sponsored by the World Economic Forum, the Commonwealth, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Women's Economic Imperative, and Africa 2018 Forum, among others. He's the BMW Foundation responsible leader, and he's alumni of the Global Shapers community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gerald Chirinda.
Thank you so much, Seth, for the wonderful introduction. It's really difficult to follow after such an incredible start with just Kwame's remarks. I really feel energized and I really feel excited. Let me start by thanking the organizers of this event for such a timely and topical event. I'm honored to be one of the inaugural speakers of the Africa Youth Economic Forum. Let me also begin by expressing my profound condolences to the people of Tanzania on the loss of His Excellency President Magufuli. Poleni sana wa Tanzania. We mourn with you during this time. So yes, the Africa Youth Economic Forum, it is aptly named. It expresses the most pressing issues on the continent for young people today, and that is the lack of economic opportunities. What we need to focus on as young people right now is how to create economic opportunities. Right now, adding the current pandemic to the already existing gaps present makes the situation even worse. It broke my heart during this pandemic that out of 54 countries, we all had to wait for a vaccine from somewhere. My fellow young Africans, we have a mammoth task and a huge responsibility on our shoulders. The task of rebuilding our continent and shaping its future. Now, doing this requires that we begin to look at things with a particular lens. Firstly, we need to change our approach as young people to that used by our fathers before, who led our countries to independence. And our approach should simply be, we are our own liberators. We are our own liberators from the social and economic woes that are bedeviling us currently. The fight we should fight is not a physical one, as the one the previous generation before us fought. But we need to fight, we need to fight a fight of intellect, a fight of ideas, which are followed by actions. The success of some of our policies, such as the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, lies squarely upon us. Yes, there are gaps, as very low ratification on the things such as movement of people, as discussed yesterday, and I think it will be touched again on today, were brought up. Yes, there are gaps, such as ease of access to countries. We still have issues of direct flights. You have to go through particular countries to get to other countries. But these gaps should be viewed as opportunities, as fixing them and solving problems for them is in itself a huge opportunity. More challenges were created by the pandemic, granted, but we have an opportunity to an option to either complain about this, or we could face the challenges and begin to work collectively to address them. Let me give you an example. Think of the people connecting us virtually at this very moment. They realized the gap and they came up with a solution for it. Think of the transactions we process from the comfort of our homes in certain countries. Someone realized the gap and came up with a solution for it. Think about the SDGs that Kwame spoke about earlier. He is solving in Ghana. He realized gaps and he is coming up with solutions for them. Think of the gaps in access to healthcare and education brought about by the pandemic. We have young people investing their time in building platforms to address these challenges. I mean, I was extremely inspired when I was looking at what's going on in countries such as Nigeria, here in Kenya. You're having startups, some of them getting to unicorn level. These were built by young people who saw challenges and decided to take action, based on the challenges that they saw. Now, I'd like you to pause for a minute and to think about the problems that you're surrounded by. Write them down. Begin to think about how you can contribute solutions for them. In essence, that's what we do as Future Africa Forum. We don't just complain. A mentor of mine said to me, complaining is not a strategy. That changed my thinking. So when I have conversations, when I am in rooms like this and I'm listening to challenges, I am constantly asking myself, how best can I solve that challenge? Who do I need to come around to be able to solve that challenge? And this is why, for me, the Africa Youth Economic Forum is particularly important, because I believe I'm surrounded by change makers, by solution givers, by people on this platform who are not complaining, but who are willing to make a difference and to add value towards some of the issues that we're facing on the continent. Now, not everyone is tech savvy. I know I gave the example of, Nigerian unicorns and so forth. Not everyone is an innovator. Some of you have incredible policy making skills and technical skills. Now consider how through your skills, you can contribute your skills and your talents towards the social and economic progress of the continent. One of the things I realized is before I established Future Africa Forum, and I established it purely out of frustration of what was going on the continent. My background is, in finance, and then I became an entrepreneur because I love to build businesses. But in building businesses, I realized, oh my gosh, the bureaucratic red tape around building these businesses is insane. Why can't things be done easier? So I decided, okay, how can I work with people who work in public policy and development making to be able to solve challenges that we face? And I think this is sort of the approach that we need to take, because I feel sometimes we have policymakers shooting in one direction, we have entrepreneurs shooting in another, but we are not working in tandem enough. We need to be able to get into rooms and say, hey, this is who I am. As an entrepreneur, I need to be able to pitch my product, not just to investors, but also pitch it to policymakers, pitch it to people in the development space, so that I get to understand a different perspective. And then I get to gain assistance in terms of, if you really want to make traction, these are the policy issues you need to look out for. I'm looking at the Africa Continental Free Trade Area now, and I'm saying, how are policymakers working collectively with business people to make sure that this is a reality? How are they working with young people, with women, to make sure that this is extremely successful? And I know there have been organizations that have done incredible work in this regard. For example, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, produced an actual document on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and it's important to women and to youth. But we need to be able to take this conversation across the entire spectrum, work with public policy officials, as well as work with entrepreneurs. Now consider how your skills as an individual can contribute to the success of some of these things that people are envisaging and are aiming to do on the continent. In as much as we've been dealt a double-edged sword, that is the pandemic and the already existing lack of opportunities on the continent, ours is to rise to the occasion and view these opportunities to unlock economic prosperity and opportunities for fellow young people. They are great opportunities that lie in this, but it requires us to work collectively and across sectors to build a common future, to build an Africa that we will all be proud of. We need to be able to get to a point where, yes, Africa is the first to meet the SDG targets by 2030, or at least the bulk of them. We need to get to a point where, in doing so, we take the majority of our economies from low-income economies to middle-income economies. So let us not just be consumers, but let us be builders and creators of what the world needs. To my earlier point of, out of 54 African countries, we have had to wait for a vaccine from outside the continent. For me, that shows us where the gap is. We have to be builders. We have to be creators of not only what Africa needs, but what the world needs. I'm extremely excited that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is now live, because it will present an opportunity for us to be able to showcase that. It will present an even bigger market for those who dare to dream, who dare to believe, and who dare to be bold to solve challenges. Now, let us be clear in our quest and know that we will build from the previous generation, but we will not build like. Now, I thank you all for the time that you have given me, and I look forward to actionable outcomes that will come as a result of this event. I am following keenly. I'm very excited at the potential that exists in this particular initiative. I'm equally excited that it is for young people and by young people. So a very huge congratulations to everyone that has worked day and night to make sure that this event is a success. To all the partners, to the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, I congratulate you for such an incredible initiative. I hope this is not just a once-off and that it will be annual. And I hope that it's going to be even much bigger than it is now, and we'll be able to meet in person. Thank you very much. And I now hand over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Gerald, for that incredible address, helping us to focus on opportunities as a result of COVID. But I love how you also challenged us to write our ideas down, to write them down and implement them. Future Africa Forum came out of a frustration for you, and I'm pretty sure a lot of attendees have frustrations that they're seeing in their local communities. But instead of being participators or being solutions to those problems, they sit back. So thank you for challenging us to take those frustrations and turn them into viable business ideas or initiatives that actually help our communities. Amazing address from Gerald Chirinda, the founder of Future Africa Forum.